nakshatras. Moon has to be in a, suppose he is in Kritika. Kritika nakshatra means moon has to be in Kritika.
Activities happen.
No, I'll tell you. Activities happen. What is meant by that? Only the qualities of the activities are given. Activities can be 100,000, whatever. But the qualities of the activities will be fiery, hot, high temperature, burning. These are the properties.
That is like very.
In Kritika only. When Chandra is in Kritika nakshatra. Now, reason and devatā are different. Reason is because Soma was in Kritika once upon a time as Agni, as fire. When, don't ask, sometime he was there. And hence, the property of that Agni has been superposed on the nakshatra. But only when Chandra is there. Because the time, what is meant by time? Time is when Chandra is with Kritika, there is one time. Next day Chandra is with Rohiṇī. Next day it is something else, kind of thing. That is time for human beings, I am telling. Roughly one day, let us say, in each nakshatra. Now the devatā names are older names from the Rig Veda and Yajurveda and all that. Devatas themselves are not the nakshatras. And nakshatras are also not equivalent to the devatas. Now, as per this devata, is it some icon? No. Then what is it? Does it have a rupa? Rupa means can be, but not visible. See, rupa can be audible rupa. Pratyaksha, I told you first day. With different indriyas, you get, all of that are direct jnana only. So, physically visible is not there. You followed that. Then what is devata? Devasya bhavaha devata. It is only a property. Today we call devata with an icon and all that. There it is not that. So similarly for all the nakshatras. Next one, Rohiṇī, sthirata. Because Prajapati is the devata. Prajapati's quality is being firm, staying for a very long time. No, so it is called Prajapati is the devata. Now is Prajapati same as Brahma? I don't know. But Prajapatyam Daivatam it says. So Prajapati we take it as devata. Prajapati is Samvatsara. We have seen that legend. So Samvatsara, what rupa it has? Yes, it has rupa. Not the rupa which they might have imagined in the Panchanga and give Sankranti Purusha rupa, those things, riding a donkey, looking in the east. That is also a rupa. But that rupa is not here. Prajapati's rupa was for Rohiṇī, as I showed in the Vasanta Rutu when that mantra is there, that Odanam, etc. from the Katasamhita. That is Prajapateha Rupam. That is with that Rohiṇī nakshatra, sun below the origin, below the horizon, and people are all happy and all that. And that is the rupa of that. You want, you can do a painting, but they don't do the painting. They have only the mantra form, sound form. That is the Shruti form. So the rupa can be of the sound form also. That is the sound form rupa, they say. Similarly for the other, now for Mrigashira it is Soma is the devata. Who is Soma? Don't ask me. They will equate with Chandra. But Chandra, when he is with Mrigashira nakshatra, it is the properties being Saumya. Because once upon a time, Prajapati became Saumya in Mrgashira nakṣatra. When that is the legend of the Orion, he is hitting the Prajapati with the bāna. I told you 2 days back. That is the Agni, the Bhupati, Bhunapati and all that. And when Prajapati went after his daughter, then the devatā said, no, this is wrong. So Rudra was asked to hit him. He hit, and then Prajapati got stuck into the Mrgashira. So he became calm. Don't ask when happened and all that. But these are the episodes. And for all the 27, some kind of anomalous phenomenon is there. Not all of them may be known to us. That is the stories. Some are known, some are not known. But that property is known because the devatā names are available. And that is what I said is given in the Nakṣatra Karma Guna chapter. So without the Mahasalilam theory, you can't understand that. Why Kanyopanayanam should be done in Kritika. These things you can't understand. But here you understand that. So you have to link the two. That is why in the book I have put that as an appendix and given. We have published that also in English. Some summaries available in some of the journals we have published. I have given the link also. If you are interested, you can download all of them. Does it satisfy your question? Okay, fine. Similarly, you have to go through all of that. There should be 27 of that kind. These are all, I am stressing because they are good research projects. 2 or 3 you can easily fill up. Remaining, I have also not worked on that. But if we do something, we will get. The properties are all of that kind. That is why Punarvasu, the name is there. Punarvasu, Punaradhanam Kuryat. That kind of things there. You want to have started an activity, it is half finished, you want to do it. If Punarvasu, it may be helpful. A reason would be there because sometime in the past, Soma once again came to this nakṣatra, and that is why he is the devatā of that. Or Aditi came, so Aditi is the devatā of Punarvasu. These properties are there.
Okay, so, and also you mentioned that earlier it was like Rohiṇī, which was there in Venus, and then
ಅದು ಮೈಕ್ ಕೊಡಿಮ್ಮ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ.
Also, you mentioned earlier Rohiṇī was there, and then it was changed to Kritika during the Vasanta Ritu. So now when that change happens, will the properties also change? Because earlier whatever Vasanta Ritu observations were there, if that was associated to Rohiṇī, and now if it is not happening and that is happening in Kritika, should that...
No. At least as per this, it is not. The Ritu properties are different. That is not questioning that. But even when Kritika is in the equinoctial situation, Rohiṇī properties are the older properties only, due to fire. I am sorry.
Kritika is
Rohiṇī is going to be only stable
Sthira.
property. Kritika is still Agni property only. Even now it is Agni property only. But that is the visible nakṣatra, not an imaginary point.
Okay.
So, and Rohiṇī nakṣatra should be that 5 Shakatakar. 5 nakshatras together. That is the name Rohiṇī given. Because from that day onwards, Rohiṇī is no more a single star. Rohiṇī has to be accepted as together, but that property continues. That samvatsara stayed in that, so Prajapati properties are there. They are all stable because they are all most ancient and they have been decided by the rishis.
All those are fixed forever. All those are fixed forever.
The properties and
Properties.
fixed. That is true. That property is based on the devatā property. I hope you got the idea.
Yes,
The word devatā itself means property of the deva. That itself has become now a name. So you can go through that and then compare with the nakṣatra karma guna chapter. Then you can see the correspondence of which devata, which property. So Mula nakṣatra. Mula nakṣatra, nirritir devata, I think, Vichritau nirritir devata, something like that is there. So digging and those operations are done. Nirriti is actually bhumi. So whatever activity, the properties are associated with bhumi can also be there. But it's not what I imagine. Something which is there in the past. Because Soma stayed in that nakṣatra with some property, some activity.
Thank you.
Okay. We will have a short talk on this. I seem to be talking too much, so I want to cut it down. This is the somewhat unconnected with whatever I am telling, but still Vedic and still practical. Still it is astronomy. Only thing here, I am considering the quantitative aspects. So long whatever discussing was more qualitative, so to say, descriptive, anecdotal. Here also some anecdotes are there, but it becomes more quantitative. How was time measured in ancient India? Something I have already covered, I will not repeat it. For example, from Ahargana, sunrises you could count, and then from moon. Now sidereal month is 27 and a half or 27.3. Now synodic month is 29.5 equated with 30. These are all numbers. That is a quantification. So those things I need not once again cover, but if there is some repetition, it does not matter. But the actual quantification of the numbers, some of them which are older ones, in the Rig Veda itself, Trimshat and those things I showed. But later on when we come to this 3339 and all that, they are very long periods, 18-year eclipse cycle. But they don't attach any what we say as era. Today from Shaka, you count something. From zero, the Christ's birth, you count something. That kind of thing was not there. So indirectly we have to find out and say that Magadhi would refer to 1800 BC, that is with reference to us. So many years before me. At 2000 you get that before me kind of thing. You have to bear this in mind. Whereas in that period, I don't know, they don't have. They have only the Samvatsara and all that, the Pancha Yuga Samvatsara. But they ask the question, which is the Adi? I showed you that whole sentence in Mahasalilam. Nakṣatranam Adihi, Parva Adihi, Masanam Adihi. Which is the first one? Because everything seems to be like a loop. So if you consider the longer year, the 5-year Yuga, you had one beginning. That beginning was Samvatsara. And that started either in the Surya in the Magha Nakṣatra in summer solstice or Shravishtadi in the winter solstice, you get a 400-year difference. So please understand this. Many people say for Hindus, time was circular. They did not know about the kind of linear time that Europeans developed and all that. Superficially it is true, I don't deny. But they didn't have the concept of longer time with reference to the nakṣatra shifting. That is from the Ritu. Somebody asked about Ritus. When the Ritus change, when new nakṣatra is there, what are the qualities? Ritu quality remains same. I hope you followed I don't remember your name, that Vasanta Ritu has to be a happy Ritu even today. Let Kritika be there, or Mrigashira be there, whatever may be there. But they did mention that because time is moving. Syandate. So it is not, time is circular. As though everything is in a loop, you don't have the concept of a long time. Long time is there. We forgot, we made mistakes. Later people made mistakes. That doesn't mean the idea is wrong. So the idea was there. Now, a peculiar question comes up. Okay, you say that you had a long time, okay, at least 18 years we were able to show as the eclipse period. Shatamanam bhavati is mentioned. That they know because of the human beings live for 100 years. No, that is not any astronomical qualification or anything of that kind. No. Now, longer than that, is anything available? Is the question on one side. And then what happens to the smaller ones? Within a day, what did they do? Did they measure time in the night? Did they measure in the morning? It is not sunrise to sunrise people live. They have to live from afternoon, evening, morning, everything is there. So what did they do? This question is very important. That is actually, as I said, measurement. Numbers are not necessarily just integers. Integers are useful. And I also mentioned about the problem which is between Diti and Aditi, the Daityas and the Adityas. Something which is continuous and something which is divided or discrete. So I have covered part of this, so I'll skip it. We will come to the Ahoratra. So Ahoratra is one day, it is a day and night. This is made of 30 muhūrtas. That is definition. That definition comes because the Masa, Paksha is 15, Krishna and Shukla, Ahaha and Ratri simulated. It's a similar. And that is the meaning here. So if Ahoratra is similar to Masa, the ratio is same, or the number is same, that is the concept you have to get. So the concept of meaning, Samya, Rupa Samriddhi, doesn't stop with only a qualitative thing, but it goes into the quantitative issues also. You have to bear in mind. Necessarily we will have to repeat it later. Now this 30, Yojana is mentioned. Anavadya trimshatam yojanani ekaika kratum pariyanti sadhya. Famous Rigveda thing. And this 30 yojana is taken as parts, distances. And next one, Hitva, etc. is there. Trimshat pada nyakramit. Trimshat dama virajati vakpatangaya divate. These two seems to be like space distances. There also it is 30 which is taken. So, if sunrise to sunrise is 30 muhurta, you can say sun also moves 30 steps. Those steps may be something else. Cosmic steps may be. There may be per se nothing wrong in that, but you have to bear these things in mind. If you can measure the 30 steps of sun, at least morning you can measure something. You see the point. How many steps it takes for 30 muhurta, per muhurta, how many steps he has taken? More or less they equate and then put it up. But this gave some idea of how time can be understood in the morning with reference to sun. Smaller times. That is going to be Prataha, Sangava, Madhyana, Aparanha and Sayam. They are divided into 5 parts. So Prataha is the rise, Madhyana is above me. Remember that Surya goes only to the Dakshina. So you have to, the meridian, you have to consider some of the things which Sundar mentioned, but you can easily fix up when is the center. So that will be 7.5 muhurtas, because morning, sunrise to sunset will be 15 muhurtas, half of that. And if you want to get an equal division, you make 5. Each of this will be 3 muhurtas. Is it the center point or is it the end? Don't ask me. They are all the new questions which come up. Is it the sector or is it some central point like the nakṣatra? That also had to be improved. They slowly improved all of that up to the level of what today have seconds, minutes. You have 1 hour. You can say the class is 1 hour, you may not look at the watch. But for something else, you may have to look at the watch and say seconds, minutes, and other things. So these are the finer divisions. In the Rigveda period itself, it is there. Now you may question, what did they do in the night? Morning, okay, you have. If you say moon, oh no, because moon changes very fast. And Amavasya, what do? I don't even see moon. And moon rises at odd times. But somebody may insist, no, I am such a person. I will watch only moon, not sun. Do. Then you get that sidereal day, synodic month and all that. We have already seen it. So it is not the question of argument, but it is a question of curiosity and investigation. They did all of that. But time within night, how do you measure? If you say moon is there, he obviously moves, rises and sets. Is it equal? It's not equal. Our own experience says nobody can say it is equal. Even for sun, it is not equal. They realize that also. Even though notionally sunrise to sunrise is 30, depending on the ayana, it keeps on changing. It is also there. That is, as the light of the sun increases, he prays, let my life also increase. That is the kind of prayer which is there. So it is known that as sun moves to the south, it is the night's length which increases, the day length keeps on decreasing. And vice versa. That is why in this summer solstice it is so hot, and sun is supposed to be very near the earth as per the Puranas, and the Dhruva is there, and sun is connected with Dhruva with some 1.5 lakh yojana string and all that. And in the Vishnu Purana, Brahmanda Purana, they say how it goes around, and in the winter solstice, the string becomes very long and it goes down and all that. So these are all observational, maybe fanciful for us, they may seem like that. And when sun is very down in the Dakshinayana, at the Uttarayana Prarambha, moon is there at the topmost, because he has to be 180 degrees away in the Purnima. So the Uttarayana Purnima will not obviously be with sun. It can only be the Amavasya, he will be with sun. 180 degrees away means he will be looking very high somewhere. And they will say that he is high to the north, like that. These are the timings. So long timings can somehow be understood. Short timings, how are you going to do? Oh, there is a story on that. This is a yaga called Atiratra. Now, Atiratra, as the name indicates, you have to cross the night. Who crosses the night? Indra has to cross the night. The story is, Indra wanted to cross the night. But night is very dark. And the dark things belong to the Asuras. Now, the concept of Asura is opposite Sura is not there in the Rigveda. But in the later Vedas, Asura will be kind of opposite to Sura. But the word Sura usually used only as an alcoholic drink. Sura is not used as the devatas or what today we call Suraha, as in Amarkosha or whatever. Be careful on that. So Sura being opposite of Asura is kind of man-made. Because the original word is asura only in the Rig Veda. And deva. Devasura sanyata asan. Not surasura sanyata asan. The Purana, it is the sura and asura word. So bear this in mind. So the simple a being opposite as per Panini grammar will not apply everywhere. Now, Indra wanted to cross the night. You can quickly understand, if you know that Indra is a Kalabhimani Devata, the whole story is gone. You don't enjoy this story. It becomes too technical. But the whole mantra is there from the Aitareya Brahmana, literally translated that Indra was afraid of the night, and then he requests, I need a support for me. I need some companions for me because I am afraid of the night. Who will come? He calls all the devatas. And the mantra says, Kaschaham che manito asuran na atrim anveshayava itisa devesho na pratyavan. It's a very sutra kind of thing. You have to read the translation. All the devas reject. They say we are also afraid. Ratrehe tamaso mrityehe tasmad ap yetarhi naktam, etc. It goes. Yeah, we may also die. No, we will not come with you. How many devatas? Maybe 3339, maybe 33, maybe 3000. You take whatever you want. They say no, we will not come. Then who helps him? One group of people agrees. Tamvai chandamsi eva anvavayan. Only the chandas agree to follow him. Chandamsi, the chandas. Now, what is the rupa? Is it a devata? Is it some chandas sitting with 5 hands? Gayatri chandas has 5 faces, so many hands and all that. You can do if you want. But it is the concept, it is the word, it is the thing which is there, the principle. It is the thought. Chandamsi eva anvavayan. So along with the chandas, Indra goes. Chandamsi cha ratrim vahanti. It is the chandas which carry the ratri. Na nimichasyate, na purom, na dhaya, na anya. That means dhaya is actually Rigveda. Rigveda refers to dhaya. No mantra came to his help. No sama came into his help. None of them came. Only the chandas. And devata indrasya heva chandamsi cha ratrim vahanti tanve paryaya eva paryayam anudanta. Only by paryaya, cycles of the chandas, they crossed over. It is Atiratra Yaga. Atiratra Soma Yaga is a one-day Soma. Even today it is done. And it is mentioned already in the Rig Veda Atiratra. There are so many Atiratras, Garga Atiratra, Pancha Atiratra. This is a one-day Atiratra. Is the primary thing, the first and foremost. And I need not go further. Then the Chandas gets a boon. Namely, that there will be some ahuti for you also. So Gayatre Swaha, Ushnikhe Swaha, bṛhatī Swaha, you can do all of that. That is in the Homa and all that it will be done. Not just as words, as something which is great. Because they all carried through the night. And night is a kāla. Again it is a time. And how did they measure the time? And what for they wanted this? That is the theory here. And they get a name also called Apisharvarani. There is another name for Chandas called Apisharvara. And that is all the Vedic studies people, you leave it to them. We need not worry about it. So this is the only thing. There is a reference to real time in the night. This Prataha, Sangava, they are all positions. And Sangava is actually the time when the cows go out, After this morning sunrise, Sangava comes, say about 1.5 hours later. That is when the cows are supposed to go out, in the most ancient time. Similarly, in the evening, you remember, that is called the Godhuli. So Godhuli is the time when they come back, So these are the names and the muhūrtas which are remembered as the time measures. And how did they do the Vedic rite? The rishis or the people who were there, the Atiratra, they followed a cycle. 3 cycles they did. And they had the Soma rasa, which was done in the morning. It's again a drinking of Soma, of the hotas and others who were there, the Ritviks, in a cycle. You can say it is like drinking party somewhere and all that. I mean, that would be a kind of degenerated kind of Soma. But here it was a different Soma. It was the philosophical question of how do I fix up the length of night, because the nights themselves were different. And how do I measure that? Is there anything that can be associated that this is one muhurta? They have already said 15 muhurtas is for the night. But how many muhurtas I have spent? These questions would have bothered them. They don't say all of that. What is preserved is only a story of this kind. But what is actually done is available, fortunately, both in the Brahmanas and in the Shrauta karma. And in the Shrauta karma and all that, I have given that the Vyakhyana of Sayana. Kramena nirakarana prakaram darshayati dasha dasha ghatika ekaiko bhaga ityevam ratrehe trayo bhagaha blah blah, all of that. Dasha dasha ghatika, he says. Ghatika is half muhurta. Dasha ghatika will be 5 muhurta. So 5 muhurta, ratrehe trayo bhagaha. So they divided the ratra into 3 parts, and muhurta 3 times they completed this ratri. Indra completed the ratri. He crossed over. The chandas also helped him in crossing over. That is the meaning. But the ghatika was not there during Vedic time. It was only muhurta. Let us remember that. This ghatika is a yantra. I will show you that. Sayana I had. Today you have the computer, you have this one, the Rituks can see, they look like this and see what is the timer, who has sent a message and all that, So the time can be seen like that. So during Sayana's time, there is a ghatika yantra they could do with reference to that, the Atiratra Yaga. Bear that in mind, it's very practical. The details of how to do this, what are the mantras to be done finally? And how do we do this exercise fully? That is what is called bṛhatī sahasram. Also another name called pratar-anuvaka. The actual practice, it is not from sunset to sunrise. Atiratra is sunset to sunrise, the yaga, but the actual actions are there. You have to do something, you have to bring this patra, the somya, the samagana has to happen, the advaris have to do something else. But then the chandas crossing, that ancient thing, they are remembered through the bṛhatī sahasra. That bṛhatī sahasra is done even to this day as a pratika. I will show that also. Now, all this is prescribed. I have given the references, the Aitareya Aranyaka and others. What is the meaning of this? All the 7 meters helped Indra, because there are only 7 meters. Gayatri, Ushnika, Anushtupa, bṛhatī, Pankti, Trishtup, Jagatis, Chandagamse, is it not? For the Vyaharti, Sapta Vyaharti Nam, he is connected with that only. So the 7 chandas helped him, all the 7. So they are obliged to the 7 chandas all through the life. That is one thing. Second, they made it into a particular ritual and mixing the 7 chandas, because in the Rigveda all the 7 comes. The most important was bṛhatī. Bṛhatī, if you see, it is centrally placed. On this side, you start from Gayatri, it increases by 4, 4, 4, you come to 36. Then you increase by 4, 40, 44, 48 is going to be Jagati. I hope you follow this scheme. And Surya has 7 rays or Saptashva or whatever, and Sapta Chandas. He moves with these 7 Chandas. Night also, not only in the morning. And these 7 Chandas they combined and they took the average, which happens to be only bṛhatī, which is the center. So you do bṛhatī sahasra. That is 1,000 verses in the bṛhatī chandas. That will be 36,000 aksharas. So Indra crossed through 36,000 aksharas the night. And to represent that, even today they do the bṛhatī sahasra. And what is mentioned is this bṛhatī should start somewhere in the midnight, around say 12 in the midnight or whatever, and it should end before the birds chirp. Before the birds make noise, it should end. So they had about 5 hours, let us say, depending on the season. So if 36,000 divided by 5, you get a speed in which they should have uttered these mantras. You get the broad picture? So they would have been measuring this in terms of the Rigveda mantras or chanting. So chanting is the key for measurement of time, short time. Okay? You can ask questions later again. I will come to more chanting. Then you come to music, which of course all of us know and all of that. And chanting has, well, I have put up here, on an average 6 muhurta at the rate of 6,000 Vedic akshara per muhurta. That is 3,000 Vedic aksharas per ghatika. This is an average. Roughly you remember this. This should have been a whole industry for nearly 1,000 years. Because there are different speeds which are given in Lagada, in Purana, in Parashara Tantra, in Brahmanda Purana, Vishnu Purana, all kinds of things. That is the development of Chanda śāstra, which is one of the Vedangas, connected with this thing. And since we are moderns, and today the Somayaga is also happening, we wanted to see what the Vedikas do today. So we went to this famous person, Itti Nambudri, who is a Somayaji, and in fact actually Sudarshan met him and get all the information, what do you do in the Somayaga? When do you get up? Because it's an all-night thing. He is a representative today of the Kaushitiki Brahmana. He is not of the Aitareya which I mentioned, but on the Kaushitiki. And he, quickly the story is this. He said, see, I don't know about all your text and all that. Sutra, I don't know anything. I know the parampara. The Atiratra is done early morning, 3 a.m. I start. And for about 1.5 hours, 1 hour 15 minutes to 1.5 hours, I utter the so-called bṛhatī sahasra. He didn't call it bṛhatī sahasra. He says the Ashwin Shastra, Ushas Shastra, and Agneyam. The Ushasyam, Agneyam, and Ashwinam. These are the only 3 things we do. And what do we do? He gave a list of the mantras, all the Rigveda mantras, all the 7 chandas are mixed up here. And this we cover in about 1 hour 20 minutes. Okay, good. We know the number of aksharas which is there. Don't come to the Guru, Lagu, Matra and all that. That will confuse you totally. Don't worry about Vrittaratnakara yet. We'll come to that. These are the Vedic aksharas. Now, Vedic aksharas, how do you determine? This is a syllable. There is a pluta, there is a dirgha, all of this. Only reference is Anukramani. Because Anukramani has fixed up how many aksharas are there in each hymn. Whether it is, when you count, you get 3 more or 4 more, it is your error. Because there may be a dirgha, there may be a pluta, there will be ha, vu kind of thing. It may be counted as 4 aksharas. Whereas I see only 2 syllables there. You have to be careful on that. So it is only, that is the standard for the Vedic akshara. So if we do that, and Rik Pratishakya says, there are 3 speeds for the Vedas. Particularly the Rigveda is what we are considering. That is going to be Tisro Vrittihi Upadishanti, Vacho Vilambitam Madhyamam Dhrutancha. 3 ways it can be there, Dhruta, Vilamba and Madhyama. And Itti Nambudri said, we do only Ekaswarya. There is no 3 swaras. 3 swaras there in theoretically all right, agreed. But in the ritual it is all Ekaswarya only. We checked up. In the Ahuti, when you do that, you need not use the swara. That is the standard practice. And in the Madhyama Vritti, it is neither fast nor too slow. I have an average speed is what I feel, and that is how we are doing it. So we got the speed of that and became more curious. What do the Rigvedic people do all over India? So some little bit of hard IKS work before IKS division was there and all that, So we collected the Rigvedic records both from Kashi as well as from Mysore, the South Indian and a North Indian representation. They are available on records. And we found out the speed, how it comes up, and it was done for only a representation. When they do a recording, it is an exhibition kind of thing. It is neither for a Vakyartha Sabha or in some matha they are doing. It is not of that kind. It is not a yaga. They are representing an average speed, that's all. But with the accents and all that. So both we collected, and the Rigvedic Aksharas we know. So for that particular sukta, how much time they took, and the computer found out with the clock how much seconds they have taken. This is the table. They have been published. I have put up also a reprint here. And found out how much time it takes, so I can find out what is their speed, depending on the number of aksharas. So we have a plot here. This plot is, I hope all of you can see this properly. Yeah, this is the akshara on the x-axis, and this is the time taken on this side. So if I do that, the average speed comes to this. 3,650 aksharas per gatika. For muhurta, it will be double this. I put it for gatika only. And for the northern is 7,000 something, aksharas per gatika. That is a faster thing. This is a slower thing. And it is exactly twice, nearly twice. And this is the principle even in classical music. This is the principle in almost in all the Vedic things. I showed you the Pratishakya. It is the ratio which matters. Don't worry about the absolute thing. So both are same chandas, both are the same Rigveda, both have the same rupa, maybe double, maybe you can even half it, doesn't matter. Of course, the Kerala thing will be different. Well, let's not mix up with that. And now Siddhanta astronomy has a definition of time. That is 3,600 Gurvaksharas per Gatika in medium speed is what Siddhanta Shiromani and all of those texts say that. I will show that next. In the faster speed, it will be 7,200. More or less it matches with that. Nearly. And hence, not only that, as you go to faster and faster things are longer ones, it is straight line, linearly increases like a tape. You can't say that I measure 1 foot, 1 meter here, but when the meter is longer, it bends like this. Or naturally, if somebody without music or without this training starts doing, the longer ones, he will take either more time or less time because he'll be tired and say, it becomes slower and slower for the longer ones. It is the training, it keeps it straight line. Straight line is a major thing for measurements. It's a linear scale. As your foot scale or a meter scale is there, you simply put it so many times, you measure the length. You can't say for a longer one, I don't know, or you do something else. I can't do like that. So the time measurement is the key. And this was known to the whole of the country, it was known. And that is why Siddhantic astronomers, the post-Vedic period, was a tremendous nascent development of intellectual activity. In my original figure, it was something around 500 BC to 500 AD or that period, of that time. They started with Nimesha. Nimesha is mentioned already in the Maitrayana Aranika, Magadhyam, Nimesha, Thruti, etc. This comes up also in the Ayurvedic text. Nimesha, how many Nimeshas are there? That is the most basic time. There is the blinking of the eye. Then one muhurta is 13,500 Nimesha is what is mentioned in Siddhanta Shiromani also. Now, rate of blink, how do you do that? You keep on measuring her eyes or your eyes or my own eyes. And for one muhurta, 48 minutes, you either feel sleepy or you will start crying. So the Puranas did something different. Nimesha kala tulyami vidya lagvaksharancha yat. Lagvakshara is one nimesha. So Brahmanda Purana was the first one. Then of course Vishnu Purana and all Puranas also followed the same thing. It's a lagvakshara. Oh, new problem started. Then lagvakshara means what is gurvakshara and how to define it. And then of course the classical meters had all started, anushtup. Because most of the Puranas are in anushtup. There are one or two other things are there, but generally they are in anushtup. There is the 32 aksharas they take. Bṛhatī they don't take, but the 32 is there. And more intelligent people decided, take breath, your breathing, and that we can measure time with reference to that. So 720 asu per muhurta, they measured and said. That would lead to 21,600 in Ahoratra. It is in the yogic text and in so many other texts also it is there. And Aryabhata took one circle to be 21,600 as the diameter. We got the radius as 3438, developed the sine table and all that. That is another matter. Now again the question comes, how do you know the breath? I put my hand on your heart and then see how you are breathing and all that for one full day? Because it has to be counted with that. That was again a problem. So Siddhanta astronomy said, no, you take one prana, don't worry about other things, call it 10 Gurvakshara. Fine, even then what do? Gurvakshara is better for one particular reason, because he knew the Chandas concept, which was there from the most ancient period. And this became almost an industry for nearly 1,000 years to measure time. They developed, even if I have to know Gurvakshara, you take, I keep on repeating for one full day and then decide that it is going to be 30 muhurta, 60, something like that. They said, no, don't do that. You say that 10 Gurvakshara is one prana, you can, only for some time that you can breathe and then we will do that. How? In fact, the astronomy text said, you have any vessel you take, fill up the vessel, open the vessel, make a hole. The time taken from sunrise to sunrise is going to be 60 Ghatika, you take it like that. Okay, I do that. But I have to wait for that to become 60 Ghatika. But then what in between? I am interested in the night. And who will see in the night? And also I want the smaller times. What do I do? Then they developed these jalayantras, this outgoing thing, not of the general type, even though ghata and all those was used. Even Kautilya talks about a ghata and all that. They become extraordinarily inquisitive on this, how to measure time, small time. 3 ways it can be done. Either volumetric or gravimetric. Either measuring the weight of the water which goes out, or measuring the amount of water, that is in terms of the volume of water which goes out. Details are available in the book by S.R. Sharma called The Measurement of Time in Ancient India, called the Archaic and Exotic. It's available freely on the in the archives, you can download it, the details. And if you take a cylinder, is the easiest, This is the Nadika. So in the Nadika, you allow water filled up. When it's completely gone, it is 60 Ghatika or Nadika. This is called Nadika because this is a Nali which is there, like in Nali. The problem with this is they did not yet know about V square equals 2GH. That is, it depends on the head of the water, the speed. So when it is 50%, it has gone. For sun, when it comes to midpoint, I can say it is Madhyana. Here, if it comes to half, can I say it is Madhyana? It won't. Because it is not linear. It will be between 10 and 11 muhurta, and then it becomes slow and slow and slow. So it is not a linear scale. People who were very intelligent, they said with experiments they would have done, no, this should not be a cylinder. It should be like a dadima pushpa. The vessel should be like a dadima pushpa. Broad at the top, slow, conical coming to the bottom, like a garden pot. Then what happens? It is linear. This is called in modern fluid mechanics a logarithmic weir. A measurement of water which is done for agricultural purposes, you don't go and measure it. From the marking, you have to decide how much water has gone. If it is linear, always the revenue man will write that and take it up. If it is going to be so complex, he will not know. So they have designed weirs which are like that, where it is linearly can be calibrated. So this comes very near in nature to the Dadima Pushpa. Okay, this is mentioned in fact in the Jyotiṣa Karandaka, Jaina text. People became more intelligent. Varahamihira, Aryabhata and all these people were the big wigs of that time. They are thinking about time because it's a kāla vidhāna śāstra. I am sure they would have been questioned, what kāla are you measuring in the night, in the morning? And in the Panchasiddhāntika, Varahamihira gives, there would be other references, this is the reference which is there. Varahamihira gives this shloka, also defines how that bowl should be there. Don't use nadika, use ghatika, he said. Ghatika is a bowl. There is a hole at the bottom. And if that hole, that ghatika sinks once, ghatika is also the time, also the name for the bowl. A small ghatika, kapratyeha, alparte kapratyeha. So it is a small bowl, ghata. That is also the name for the time because time comes from that bowl. I hope you follow. Ghatika is not the original name. It has come out of this, like Nadika. Nadika comes out of the Nadika yantra. Value may be same in time value, but the way it is measured is different, so errors can be different. He says, he gives the measurement of the bowl, I will not read it, how much hole has to be done and all that. Or he says, the translations here, it is the time in which one may recite 60 times a verse composed of the 60 long syllables as this. So, Dasha pranaha gatika, from that they went into this. And that prana, don't worry, don't put your hand here. You have I will give you a shloka, a chandas, again going back to the Indra and the chandas concept. This is what is called the Leela Kela meter, not a very popular meter. Our Kavi is here. Leela Kela you can construct, but I haven't seen so many in Leela Kela meter. It has 60 Gurvaksharas. It is also called by other names, but anyway, if this is uttered once, or if you repeat it 60 times, it is going to be, that is what he says. I think I should be quickly going for maybe I will finish this. Then, these are the various definitions which are given in terms of the aksharas. Lagvakshara, Gurvakshara, and, Vikritakshara, Vaidika Akshara. Lagadas Vedanga Jyotiṣa gives only 12,462, whereas Purana gives 13,500, siddhāntic astronomy gives 7,200, Parashara gives 16,000, Vikrita Akshara. A different Akshara, he says. They all did this, and in 7th century, Bhaskara, who has written a commentary on Aryabhata, he gave one more shloka, he refined it. He gave another Leela Kela meter. Makante pakshasyante paryakashe. This, if it is uttered, is better than that, he said. And he gives all the details and the vyakhyana. This is the bowl, And if this is just a coconut shell, which is there in the Madras Museum, this has been experimented by many people, international, the instruments and the astronomical instrument catalog, encyclopedia, all of them have this. It is exactly 24 minutes, one Ghatika. One Muhurta is 48, one Ghatika is 24, and one Shloka is 24 seconds, one Vigatika. So then, Obviously, you can have so many kinds. Why only one gatika? I will measure half gatika. I will measure 1/4 of a gatika. I will make another thing. Call the carpenter, call the smithy, tell him they have to do like this. But how do you calibrate it? That calibration has to be done only with reference to this. Oh. Can you play this? I have to hold the. It is here. It is there, but it's not playing. Took 23.7. You could recognize the voice? Sudarshan. So in medium speed. So we wanted to refine it further. And the meaning of this is very beautiful. It's a double meaning. One is for this measurement. Is the poet is asking his wife, who is sleeping outside in the open on a Purnima day, maybe some problem, she was not going inside. And he comes and looks at her and says, why are you sleeping outside? Go inside and lie down on your bed, because today is Purnima, and moon, thinking that your face is Purnima, he may come and catch you, you better go inside. I do hope she went inside, but this is used for time measurement. It's the Leela Kala meter. That is why it is called Leela Kala. So we distributed this shloka, both of them, to about 30 people here who are willing, and collected their data like that stop clock and got the time. The average is about 23.94. The error is about less than 1%. So this could have been used and for calibration. In other words, you have the gatika, you need not wait for one full day, whether it sinks 60 times and all that. Ask the children who are nearby, let them know this, or some other equivalent shloka in that meter, ask them to repeat it 60 times. One gatika is over, see whether it has sunk or not. Or you have a half gatika, see that you need not wait morning till evening and all of that. That is what is called calibration in modern terminology, because all instruments need calibration. So if some dust is stuck or something, you can clean and once again run this. And this was practiced. Interesting thing is this was practiced. And there are a few more available in one book called Gatika Yantra Gatana Vidhi, which is meant for the Purohits. Because the Purohits in the ancient time, in the marriages, there was a Gatika Yantra Sthapana and Gatika Puja, and Gatika was used. The bridegroom would bring the Gatika, and he would set it early morning, and then when the muhurta comes, the Gatika is there, Vigatika is also there. Vigatika, how do you measure? Gatika is over. Vigatika will be the Purohita or the bridegroom will repeat shlokas of this type. Say, Martanda, Stara, Nata, Kshoni, Sunhu, etc. Some 3 times, 4 times. Each one Vigatika, okay, 10 Vigatika is over. Now you can say Shubha Mangala, Savadana, you can start. So that is how it was done. So it was the bridegroom's responsibility to measure time. Of course, today it is the other way around, but it is still remaining. The father-in-law gives a wristwatch to the bridegroom so that he comes on the right time punctually or whatever. So this is all available as a civil function or as far as a social function. So this repetition came from the oral tradition of the Vedas, of the bṛhatī sahasra and of the Prataranuvaka, of Rigveda as a chronograph. So the issue is, in the night, if they measured the movement of moon, how did they do? It was by chanting. Even today people chant, and even in the eclipses happen, people are supposed to do japa and chanting and all that. how many and all that. It's a separate matter, but the time was measured. Otherwise, they would have not got such accurate values. Even in the Purana, they mentioned all that. And this was practiced. There are inscriptions of this kind, which are called the Gatika Sthanas. Gatika Sthana, today they say it is a school. School agreed. It was primarily time measuring thing. And there would be a prahari also who would beat the thing. So there are inscriptions of the money which was prescribed for the person who hit the bell and for maintenance of the Gatika and all that in one of the villages. I have given the details here. So the Indra drinking 30 cups of Soma continuously, Somapana, that led to the Krishna Paksha being equated with 30, Ahas and Ratri, time. And then Indra seeking help from Chandas here. In between, of course, the eclipse things where Vishvedevas would come and the Agni was coming. All this Somapana concept connected with moon and the Rohiṇī Chandra, that legend, all of that is connected with time. And Indra is the Kāla devatā, and from this started time measurement. Everything is time. So why it is kāla vidhāna śāstra or kāla nirṇaya śāstra? It is not because of palita Jyotiṣa. That is a separate thing altogether. So this is what I wanted to tell you, that it is the original Vedic concept which has led to the mathematical astronomy also. Thank you so much.
A very good afternoon to everyone. So we are going to talk about rainfall in ancient India. I want to start with a question. How many of you have heard your grandparents or someone, say elderly, say that the ants are now carrying eggs on them, or that it is going to rain now, or perhaps the salt is going wet, okay, so it is going to rain? How many?
I see it in action.
Oh, yeah, you see it in action. Many. Nice. Right, so now most of us treat this as audible? Okay. So we treat this as folk wisdom, correct? Yeah, it is charming, but it is sometimes right also. What we are going to see today is that these observations are not random. They come from a very systematic program of monsoon science, that it is at least some 3,000 years old, and it was not just about watching ants, right? They measured rainfall, they had standardized instruments, measurement, and they had a 27 value forecast table for seasonal rainfall. And when a modern engineer tested their numbers against 100 years of actual IMD value, the statistics somewhat matched. So that's what we are going to see today. Yeah, clear? Agenda for today. What are the sources for our discussion today? These are our main sources. Mahasalilam, of course, our oldest source. This could be a small recap and also some sort of a snapshot for you to also remember in a nutshell. It's the 24th Anga of the Vriddhagargya Jyotiṣa. It's a dialogue between Vishwamitra asking questions and Vriddhagargya giving answers to them, and it is in the style of Brahmana text. The summer solstice marker in the text places it in the Maghadi era, which is about 1800 to 1600 BCE. It of course comes from 11 manuscripts that we have heard at least 3 times by now. From across India, Paris and Cambridge. Mahasalilam, the great waters, refers to the Vedic concept of the primordial fluid, correct? So it's a recap in a way, so that setting the stage for it, from which the creation emerged. Rigveda, 10th mandala, 129th sukta, which is Nasadiya sukta. Yeah, Nasadasi no sadasi tadani nasidracho no vyoma paro yat kimavari vah kuhakasya sharmanne kimasid gahanam gabhiram. The last part, that is ambah kimasid gahanam gabhiram. It looks like a question, what was there earlier? And the answer, because he uses the term ambaha. So the Mahasalilam seems to be like an answer to it. Yeah, that is the primordial fluid. So this Mahasalilam text gives us the physics of cloud formation and precipitation, how clouds form, why rain falls where it does. That's about Mahasalilam. Next comes, of course, Parashara Tantra, roughly about 1350 to 1130 BCE. It is reconstructed, of course, from quotations preserved by Utpala in Kashmir and Ballala Sena in Bengal, 12th century. Adbhuta Sagara. So this text gives us some amount of physics of seasonal rainfall, behavior, 6-month precursor model, the wind direction, how it affects the rainfall, also how it affects it, a standardized measurement system, and a 27 value forecasting table. The Mahasalilam asks how clouds form, right? The Parashara Tantra asks what determines whether a season will be wet or dry. That's the kind of a connection. And then it goes further to measure and predict. Then comes our Mauryan time, Arthashastra, which actually tells how the state, the Gupta time, was collecting rainfall data. And RNI, in 2 of his current science papers, is perhaps the first person to test the numbers, these numbers, ancient numbers, against modern statistics. So there is theory, observation, measurement, and validation. Yeah? Okay. This is very interesting.
Sir, what is the name you said who actually verified?
Okay. So 75% of India's annual water arrives in these 4 months, which is 3/4 of the water India gets in a year arrives between June and September. If those 4 months fail, everything fails. Crops, economy, king's treasury, people's lives, all. Mahabharata also records 12-year drought in 3-4 places. Okay, there's a Chaitrarata Parva also, specifically, which talks about. So there is also the Bhadrabahu migration, which sir also mentioned earlier, Jaina tradition. He's a 4th century BCE monk. He predicted a 12-year famine in North India and led a migration of thousands of followers, including Chandragupta Maurya, to Shravanabelagola in Karnataka. That's the story. Bhadrabahu. So the Parashara Tantra says if the sun turns peacock blue in color, you should expect a 12-year drought. The 4 months, these 4 months, were so central that the marriages were banned during the monsoon. We know this, right? Even today it is practiced. Vishnu was said to be asleep. Wandering ascetics were forbidden to travel. We have a Parivrajika also here. So monsoon failure was an emergency of the civilization itself. Yeah, something like the 1970s emergency, but in a positive way.
This drought is geography specific or throughout the world?
I think it should be specific to regions, right?
Region.
Yeah. So, what's the founding question? शीतोष्ण वर्षाभ्रानिलानां कथमस्मात् प्रादुर्भावः कथञ्च ऋतवः तन्मानम् अनुवर्तन्ते. This is literally the first question in Parashara Tantra. You can see the number, PT 1.1. You can have the book in your hand, Parashara Tantra and Mahasalila. Yeah. So the numbers will be mentioned. You can cross-verify and check. So the student Kaushika asks his teacher, how does the sun produce cold? Heat, rain, cloud, wind. Notice that rain is right there in the founding question because this is 1.1. So rainfall is central to the entire program of astronomy, right? Yeah. 2 months are? हाँ हाँ. Yeah, I think put your questions together, which will take at the end. I'll also tell why it will be taken at the end. Yeah. So now let's look at the older among the texts, which is the Mahasalilam. It is of course structured as a dialogue. Vishwamitra poses about 100 questions to Vruddhagarga, covering the entire universe, from how the earth and sky came about, to the sun and moon, planets, eclipses, comets, and then these extraordinary questions about rain. Katham va varshanti abhrani va dharayanti, katham ve meghaha ime meghaha bhavanti, kuto va jalamanayitva varshanti, katham va anyatra varsham. How does it rain in one place but not another? Yeah, observing that it is raining at some place is one thing, but why does it rain in specific places and not at other places? Sounds like a research question, right? Yeah. So that's the kind of questions that are being asked. That's a meteorology question also, correct? So this is coming out of Mahasalilam and not out of a textbook on meteorology. Yeah. There was an article recently as to how the Guru Shishya Parampara, if anybody had seen, the famous crawl has brought it up, as to how the Guru Shishya Parampara did not encourage questions, okay, which is, her parampara is nothing but only asking questions, right? So, Vruddhagarga throws a googly. He doesn't give one answer, he gives multiple answers. Yeah? Not just in one way, he gives multiple theories, some attributed to other sages also, within this explanation. Okay, so it is like multiple debates inside one text. So this is how the question and answer go about. This is the theory 1 that he gives, which is convection plus wind shear. Marutah tiryag gatitvat hutashanam ujjalayati urva gatirhi agnihi, etc. etc. Antariksho vayuhu tiryag gatitvat shlitah kriyate tani abhrani bhavanti. You see that tiryak in both the places? So the hot air rises. Yeah, that's the vertical column, right? The red here. the lateral wind, yeah, that's actually blue, it doesn't look like blue. It hits sideways. So there is heat rises, lateral wind, hits sideways. So, and shears it. Yeah, so it goes like that. Mechanical guys, I mean, you understand this better. Shear. So the rising column gets flattened, condensed, hardened, results in a cloud. This is how clouds are formed. So this is again, this is called cumulonimbus formation today. Cumulonimbus formation by thermal convection disrupted by wind shear. But this is again not the, this is Mahasalilam still talking of the oldest texts. Now he says theory 2. Prithvyam hūshmarajascha mūtaha parvatacha udakancha dhūmascha vata samiritaha urdhvam utpatanti. Okay, so keep reading. On earth, vaporized bundle of particles and from mountains, waters and smoke convected by air rise upwards. So theory 2, can you see on top? MS 74, this is from Mahasalilam. This particular theory 2 is attributed to Krishnātreya. Okay, so I told there are debates inside. He says, not only mine, I'll also tell what others told also. Okay, parampara. So water vapor from ground and from mountains rises by the wind. It gets energized by solar radiation and it coalesces. He identified 3 of the 4 ingredients for cloud formation. Okay, moisture, lift and energy. He's already told. Okay, so the only thing that is left out is condensation nuclei. Modern cloud formation. And that concept also did not arrive until 19th century in the West. Okay, so this worked very, very well. Yatra yatra vata marutoparamsyati tatra tatra varshati. Garga gives us this one single sentence. Wherever the wind stops, there it rains. We see this, no? So you say, you might have heard grannies and grandpas, oh, it is too windy, maybe it will not rain. It would have passed. When it stops, it's going to rain. So this is actually something called as the convergence principle. Rain falls where wind decelerates and moisture-laden air piles up. The monsoon trough over central India, which is the zone of maximum rainfall, is exactly such a convergence zone. Garga nailed it in just this one sentence. Though it is also kind of known in other civilizations also, but recorded history, that's what we are talking about. He also talks about the condition under which the rainbow occurs in the very next sentence. He talks about rainbow formation also. Even the hailstones. This hailstone formation is the favorite of Rupa ma'am in our center. So she said, you have to tell this because the nation wants to know. Okay. So the cause for hailstones also were thought out.
Very recently we saw for the first time at Tornado. And I have experiences almost every week in US. I was in Kansas for 5 years. And every week there is some during fall and spring some tornadoes will form.
The nation needs want to know.
Each comes actually.
Yeah. So the Mahasalilam, that's 76. running, no? Numbers are running masculine. Also gives you the divine command chain. The Surya tells Indra, Indra tells Parjanya, Parjanya tells Maruta, the storm wind. That's the phrase that is there. But look at what it says right after. Apahi antarikshe sanghataha vayuna bhinnaha gurutva dravatvacha adaf patanti tat varshamiti abhidhiyate. Water in the atmosphere broken by wind falls down due to mass and fluidity. So the divine names there, they are the labels. The physics here is the gravity acting on the fluid, correct? That's how it disturbed by the Gurutvat, yes. So on a fluid mass, and it is disturbed by the wind. Okay.
What is this sun, Indra? Sun is telling Indra like that?
Yes, yes, yes. So before we move to Parashar Tantra's own physical model of the monsoon season, one verse. This is Kalidasa, the Mahakavi, 4th to 5th century, roughly modern dating, opening his Meghaduta, 5th verse is this. Yeah, there is a yaksha, for those who don't know this, who is in exile. He wants to send a message through a cloud to his beloved, who is elsewhere. And Kalidasa has him pause and ask. A cloud is just smoke, fire, water and wind combined. Dhūmat jyoti salila marutam sannipatah kvamegaha sandeshartah kvapatukaranaihi pranibhih prapaniyaha. Mandakranta. So he asks, okay, it is just a cloud. How can it carry a message? Yeah, it is a job of a human being. Okay. But what's interesting here is that Kalidasa has got the physics. Dhumaha Jyotihi Salilam Maruta. All the four he has covered. Correct? Yeah. Okay, so now look at what Mahasalilam said earlier, right? 73. So the fire rises, wind shears it, smoke hardens into cloud, right? And Mahasalilam 77. Clouds are the impact of 5 elements: earth, earthly body, sky, wind, fire, water. So Kalidasa, he checks, right, in his poetic composition. So he has compressed it very well. Okay, so the science had entered the literary bloodstream also, we could say. Yeah. So that's why I say the poet knew the physics. But it's not that he is a physicist. Okay, our own Mahakavi is absent. He is not here. So we know how Shastra is integrated in a Kavya seamlessly. Okay, how multiple Shastras are integrated in a Kavya. So this was again pointed out by Iyengar sir. Yeah. Parashara proposes that clouds undergo conception. Garbha. So the atmospheric conditions, which is 6.5 months before the monsoon, determines how the monsoon will perform in future. Winter conditions set up summer rain, bright fortnight conception, dark fortnight delivery. Yeah? Atha maghena shravanam, phalgunena bhadrapadam, chaitrena ashrayujam, like that. Yeah, you see the table, right? Conception in Magha, delivery in Shravana. Conception in Phalguna, delivery in Bhadrapada. Yeah, that's 6.5 months. That's 195 days. Yeah. So daytime formation, rains at night. So, divasena ratrim, ratriya divasam, garbhaha pravarshanti. So, is there anything to this? Yes. Enso conditions developing in December through March are known to correlate with the following monsoon's strength, what is going to, the next monsoon that is going to happen. So this 6-month lag is real. Just the garbha metaphor is biological, but the observation is meteorological without doubt, right? So he specifies the critical window, days 12 to 15 of the bright fortnight of Jyotiṣa, roughly the late May. Good convective activity, but no continuous drizzle. There should not be drizzle. It means a strong monsoon can be expected. Okay. If there is a steady drizzle for 7 nights, then it is going to be a miscarriage. Terms. The cloud has wasted its water prematurely. So that distinction between this pre-monsoon convective bursts as a good sign and premature steady rain as bad sign for rain is very perceptive, right? Yeah. So that's a very interesting thing in Parashara Tantra. So that 6.5 months, how to expect it earlier and how to predict how it is going to be. The southwest wind, Purvo Meghanam Sanjananaha, Paschimo Vinashane, Anyatra Nabhonavasya Yoho. Yesterday we saw Nabhonavasya, which is the Shravana and Bhadrapada months. Nityam Varshaya Uttaraha, Nairto Vayavyascha Abhravan Mahavarshaya. So the single most important, so to say, meteorological statement in the literature itself is this, perhaps, in a way, because the southwest and northwest winds with clouds bring heavy rain. East wind creates clouds, west wind destroys them during the monsoon. The Indian summer monsoon is a southwest wind system. You know that, right? So that's its defining characteristic. So Parashara got the most important one exactly right, correct? And remember Garga, anyway, so where wind stops, rain falls, correct? So the central India. So put these two things together. The southwest wind carries the moisture, where it decelerates over central India, it rains. That's the monsoon in, say, 2 sentences from 2 different ancient sages, correct? Parashara and Vriddhagarga. So it could also be that Parashara got from the Vriddhagarga lineage also. Could be a parampara also. Okay. How do we read it? So Parashara also catalogues biological and domestic indicators. Lavanam prasvidyate, andani pipilikaha sancharayanti, shastradarshat taleshu, akasman mala lipyanti. So salt becomes wet, ants move their eggs, mirror surfaces get suddenly fogged, rain. So this is the indicator of humidity. So the ants moving the eggs. So it's one of the things that is told is it is difference in the barometric pressure, and that's why ants behave in that way. So metal fogging is because of the dew point that is being reached. Okay, and that's why it is suddenly foggy. So these are genuine atmospheric signals that a pre-instrumental society, I have to remember this, pre-instrumental society would naturally learn to read, correct? So they observed so well. So they had no barometers anyway, but they had salt and copper mirrors that could say whether it is going to rain. Yeah. So this is also in Parashara Tantra 17.8. Rain gauge. Ādakāṁ chaturo dronam apam vidyāt pramanataha. Okay. So this in a way is the crown jewel, because one is to observe and things like that, but quantitatively what it is going to be, how am I going to measure? So Parashara defines a standardized rain gauge, rain gauge, a cylindrical vessel, 20 angula in diameter, 8 angula tall. When it fills up completely, that's 1 ādhaka. 4 ādhaka makes 1 drona. Okay. 1 drona converts to roughly 6.4 centimeters of rainfall. This is the same principle as modern rain gauge, correct? We say 1 centimeter precipitation, all that. So collect water in a vessel of known dimensions, measure the depth. And this is not theoretical only, because Kautilya's Arthashastra explicitly talks about this. Roughly 1,000 years after Parashara, Kautilya's time, Gupta time. So it prescribes the same 20 angula vessel. Kautilya reports actual numbers, that is 23 drona for Avanti region rainfall around Ujjain, 16 drona for forest districts. He is recording regional rainfall data as a state administrative function. Officials measured it, they reported it. Why is it important? Revenue planning for the state.
Kautilya is not Gupta,
Maurya time, sorry, Maurya. So measurement was done, and there were ministers also named whose responsibility was what, like how we have IMD now, and they had to report to the ministry, and that was used by the king too. So standardized rainfall measurement and regional data collection in the Mauryan Empire, and this is 3rd and 4th century BCE. Okay. Rainfall variability model. Punarvasu pravritihi. So the measurement of rainfall during the first day of the waxing moon, Shukla Paksha, when it is conjoined with nakshatras such as Punarvasu and others, how it is going to be. So Varahamihira's Brihat Samhita, in chapter 23, gives such a data. But RNI has shown how these numbers actually originate in the Parashara Tantra tradition. So the rule is this: observe which nakṣatra the moon is in when the first rain arrives. That nakṣatra assigned value is expected total rainfall for the year. Let's look at the table. This is the key. The 27 nakshatras are grouped by their rainfall values. Okay. At the top of the list is the drought zone. Swati, Jyeshta, Shatabhishak. About 4 drona. Okay. And what in centimeters? Roughly 26 centimeters. So that's severe drought, correct? At the bottom of the list, you can see the bumper years. Rohiṇī, the Phalgunis, Uttarabhadra. It gives 25 drona and 160 centimeters. It is. So that will be like Rohiṇī? No. Why Amavasya? No, it's during the Shukla Paksha, correct? No, it need. Could you repeat your question? right? Around that time, correct, yes. Yes, it is when this nakshatra corresponds the Shukla Paksha beginning, waxing moon.
So for this to happen, it will be much more. A full round has to take place for that procession to take place. Then only this number will come. Whatever you have. If it is only examples, a different thing. But it is the observed and given. Then that doesn't match with that 1300 or 1800 BC what we are talking about.
Okay, we'll reserve this. Okay.
So look at the middle part. Yeah, that's the most common outcome, the middle part. 16 drona, about 1 or 2 centimeters rain, comes from 6 different nakshatras, which means because it is 6 out of 27. That's a probability, right? That's nearly 1 year and 4. So this is not a flat list, it's a probability distribution. So some outcomes are rare, like 3 out of 27, which is drought, and bumper years, which is 4 out of 27. So most years are in the middle range. That's exactly how the monsoon actually behaves. Okay, so this is from the Parashara tradition, right?
Is this correlated with the modern?
Yeah, I'll come to that.
So in all nakshatras you get rainfall. That's what you.
Yeah, yes, that's probability model.
See, we call Male nakshatra.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah, that's why I say reserve to the last. Because all of them will finally point to one.
Question only. Okay, so just now you asked the question, how the ancient numbers were tested. Okay, so let's walk through exactly what Hariharan did in this paper. Okay, in certain sense. So he starts with these 27 values. This one I mean, right? In about 27 days. So since the moon passes through all 27 nakshatras in about 27 days, let's remove that 0.3. On the day the first train arrives, the moon could be in any nakshatra, yeah, with roughly equal chance, correct? So 1 in 27. So each year the moon picks one value, essentially at random, correct? Because it's a probability. So that means these 27 numbers are a probability distribution. So a picture of what the monsoon can actually do. Some years you draw a 4, which is drought, correct? So some years you will draw a 25, probability, you're just picking, okay? So it's a bumper year, correct? So most years, something in the middle, like we saw here, 16, right? Now, from a probability distribution, you can compute 2 basic things. First, the average, correct? Add up all the 27 values and divide it by 27, correct? That gives you a typical year, which is about 15.59 drona, okay? Second, standard deviation, okay? So what is standard deviation here? So this measures how far the individual years tend to stray away from the average. So that is from this 5.16, how far it is going to go. That's a deviation, standard deviation. Okay. So think of it as a typical swing. Okay. So here it is about 5.73 drona. That's the deviation. So meaning a normal year could easily be anywhere from about 10, because we saw the number 16, which is the average. So 10 to 21 it could go. Correct. So that's a big swing. It's correct. So the ratio of the swing to the average, ratio of swing to the average is called coefficient of variation. Correct. So it's 5.73 divided by 15.59. So about this comes to about 37%. This single number captures how variable the monsoon is relative to its own average. Okay. Now RNI generates a simulated 100-year series by drawing randomly from these values, one per year. He then takes actual measured rainfall data from IMD for the region Indore, you asked, no? For the region Indore from 1901 to 2002. Okay. So then he standardizes both series so they can be compared regardless of the units. And then he compares the shapes. So this is how the testing happens. Okay. This is from the actual paper, right? So he also makes a very interesting and important remark in the paper as follows. So the mean and standard deviation, which is sigma, you can see the formula. Is it visible? RF minus m by sigma. Yeah, here, right? Okay. So the mean and standard deviation are not efficient in reflecting extreme values. For this purpose, it is expedient to represent time series data in a standard form. So to standardize it, y, so this is used, r minus m by f, r into f minus m by sigma. Yeah. These are the numbers. The other two are calculated. So to visualize the fluctuations about the mean value, correct? So we standardize both ancient and modern rainfall data using the formula y is equal to r minus m by sigma, which converts values into common scale, measuring deviation from the mean. So plotting this as a time series, figure 1, shows both data sets, right? See, this is one type, the other one is, it's too small, no? Can you see? There are two types of spikes. Can you see that? One is dark and one is light. One is with the oval and one is dark. Okay. Okay. So this will be given so you can see it later. So both data sets fluctuate with similar intensity over time series. Okay. So there's similarity. So when we construct the PDF, which is probability density function, which is figure 2, the central portions match. You see, no? Central portions. You can see the central portions, they match. Confirming that the 27 nakṣatra model of Varahamihira correctly captures the core statistical behavior of monsoon rainfall. So this is the IMD data. Almost looks clean, modern data. This is Varahamihira. So VM is Varahamihira, right? So the problem is at the edges. So the only limitation is at the tail, right tail. Extreme flood events. So where 27 discrete categories are insufficient to model rare events. So this nevertheless suggests that the coefficient of variation of monsoon rainfall in central India, because it's for Indore region, okay, has remained statistically stable for about 1500 years. Okay, so the data checks out, Indore region. Yeah.
But why Indore was any particular?
Why Indore was taken ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತೀರಾ?
The idea was, I was under the impression at that time, this data was all due to Varahamihira himself. That means in the Avanti, because he was staying near Ujjain, that used the capital, and like Kautilya mentions that the kings measured the rainfall. Here also some Vikramaditya or somebody could have measured the rainfall. The nearest place from IMD I could get was only Indore, nearest to Ujjaini. That's all the reason. Then of course I was mistaken, because Varamihira did not measure, his kings did not measure. These numbers are all, you said this story already or what?
Which one, sir?
No, these are all due to Parashara or Virdagar guy, these numbers. They are not Varamihira's number.
It's Parashara's.
It is only mentioned in Bṛhatī. So yesterday I told you my story about earthquakes, studying earthquakes, and that is how I started. So when I studied Varamihira, I also saw, apart from earthquakes, there is something on rainfall. It's a natural thing. So I collected that also. So that is what I was thinking. So slowly I realized it is not. Anyway, please go ahead.
Yeah.
One question to sir.
Yeah.
Sir, have you done any kind of this kind of like statistical model with the Rishi Parashara model, and there has any similarity with the Parashara Tantra and the Rishi Parashara, what he tells about that rainfall prediction?
Krishi Parashara kind of statistical modeling have you done with Parashara?
Parashara Tantra comparison he is asking.
No, this is more or less the Parashara Tantra value, nearly. There will be some error that one can correct. Krishi Parashara doesn't give this kind of data. Krishi Parashara gives a formula for prediction. But whether that can be compared with this, nobody has done. Maybe you people should take up and do those things.
See, this is actual numbers from Parashara.
Possibility of some matching. I don't know. Once there are numbers, there is always a possibility. But I have not done that.
So I studied actually yesterday night. Not so much matching.
Oh, okay.
So, see, this 17.14 in Parashara Tantra actually gives these numbers. Okay, so you need hard numbers to, that's what Sir kept saying, right? When you go back, numbers are very, very important. Yeah, when you have numbers, that's why he says antennas have to go high, yeah? Yeah, so this is rainfall variability model, right? Yes, given the paper also, which was referred to here. Yeah, current science paper. Okay. Okay. So the result, different places. Okay, so the coefficient of variation from the ancient table is what? 37%. Now look at the modern stations. All in the central western corridor where Parashara and Varamihira are thought to have lived. Right? Ujjain is 34%, Indore 31%, Guna 33%, Jaipur 42%. So the ancient 37%, it sits right in the middle. Correct? So the two curves seen just earlier, the actual Indore data on the left, that is this. Yeah? When I say left and right, correct? The simulated ancient data on the right, they match closely in the central part. They diverge at the tails, like we saw earlier, because 27 discrete values can't capture the extreme floods and droughts the way continuous data anyway does. Anomalous phenomenon anyway. So, but the core character of this, how spread out good and bad years are, is more or less the same. So, these numbers are not arbitrary, the numbers that was given in Parashara Tantra.
So I have a question. This data analyzed with actual 20th century, 1901 to 2001.
2.
So, in 20th century, later part, the variations are more, the last quarter or anything like that is observed? Because of this climate change nowadays, all these.
Well, it's a serious question what you are putting up. They need lot of data and lot of analysis. This is, I would call, very elementary of only mean and standard deviation. And what it indicates, they are realistic is realistic what? What Varamihira, Vruddhagarga has said are realistic numbers. They are not something 100 times different or order of magnitude difference is not there. But the mean value we don't know. These are the modern mean values, average.
The variation itself is actually pretty good.
The-
For so many years,
The variation has same order of magnitude. What was the average rainfall, 1500 BC or whatever, we don't know. But the fluctuation property of that rainfall, of the monsoon, seems to have in that region remained more or less same. But there is a catch there. If you go towards Jaipur, spatial, the CB value has increased to 40. And the CB of the ancient model is 37. That is higher than Indore and Ujjain. So in other words, I mean it's an indicator, not a proof or anything. The measurements were not done near Ujjaini at all.
okay.
So Varamihira is not the original person to have measured. Somebody towards Jaipur might have done this. Or the measurements might have applied towards it. Jaipur is only a name. The ancient time, if you see the map, Avanti to the northwest, it goes to Jaipur, that region. In the India map. That may be going towards this Saraswati region. I say just this. Preliminary, you want to do a kind of reconnaissance, textual reconnaissance.
Yeah, so the numbers, of course, we saw it is not arbitrary.
So they encode in a, like sir was saying, in a discrete form the real probability distribution of monsoon rainfall over central India, which is broadly remained stable. Okay. Yeah, so the ancient texts, they identify rainfall cycles. Now we go a little bigger. So the ancients didn't just characterize a single season. They noticed that good and bad years follow patterns. Good and bad years meaning based on rainfall, right? They encoded these patterns in the language of planets and calendar years, calendar cycles. And modern analysis of about 100-130 years of rainfall data confirms that the periods that they identified are real. So this is modern spectral analysis and this is ancient numbers.
5 to 7 is actually pretty important. The real La Nina.
Yeah, will come. Okay, so yeah. So sakala dhanapatitvam amara varavapuhu prajna prabhavatapaha shrutatejodhikatvam asura gurutvam arkavarsha nigraham prajapatitvancha lebhe is the boon, vara, that Shukra, Venus, got from Shiva. So in Parashar Tantra, Venus receives this boon. So one of them is this. You saw this, right? That's what is this. Arkavarsha Nigraham. Control over sun-induced rainfall. So from a Purana perspective, it is just a boon, right? But observationally, it's a full-fledged program. Correct? What Venus is going to do. right? So Venus is nevertheless just an indicator, correct? So the Venus's behavior correlates with the monsoon performance. So, but what Kautilya does, he somewhat like a businessman, he makes it operational. He says, in the Arthashastra, the forecast for the season depends on Venus's rise and setting. So good rainfall is expected when Venus is sighted in the eastern sky during the monsoon. Arthashastra. So Venus has a synodic period, the time it takes for moon to return to the same position related to the sun as seen from the earth, the synodic period. So the time to return to the same position as seen from the earth of about 584 days. This is Venus visibility. That's about, that 584 is about 1.6 years. So if Venus is a morning star during one monsoon, the next monsoon it won't be, correct? It's 1.5 years already. But 2 monsoons later, that is about 3.2 years from the start, it's back in the east. Venus is back in the east. So you get visible, not visible, visible, not visible, visible, not visible. Correct? So that's 3 years alternation. So that's roughly 3-year alternation of Venus visibility. So the correlation he just mentioned. So now here's the extraordinary part. The dominant driver of year-to-year monsoon variability is the El Nino Southern Oscillation, called as ENSO. That's a natural cycle. What is ENSO? El Nino is it's a natural cycle in Pacific Ocean temperatures that affects the Indian monsoon with a period of roughly 2 to 3 years. Venus's cycle is about 3 years. So ENSO's dominant period about 3 years. There is absolutely no physical correlation between the two. There is no connection between Venus's orbit and Pacific Ocean's temperatures, zero basically. So Venus does not control rainfall, of course, correct? Venus on its own does not do anything. But the two cycles have nearly the same period. So if you are an ancient observer tracking Venus and also tracking whether the monsoon is good or bad, the correlation, it appears real, right? This is happening, that is also happening, so correlation. All this correlation is not causation, is all recent, right? It works not because Venus causes rain, but because an astronomical clock and climate clock, they happen to tick almost at the same rate, right? Over decades, it almost holds pretty well. Over centuries, it drifts, of course. So RNA's assessment is as follows. The Venus visibility portent of Parashara appears to be a proxy for this ENSO signature. That's from his paper from 2009. Now, did they know that it was imperfect? Okay, they said all this. But were they sure that this is all that is? Parashara's backup indicators, he did not just look at that, not just Venus only. Wind direction was important. See, all this references PT, Parashara Tantra, you can refer there. Cloud observation was made, lightning classification was seen, monsoon position was seen. So if Venus alone gave a perfect forecast, why did Parashara maintain this enormous catalog of backup indicators? Wind, clouds, lightning, monsoon, animal behavior, star afflictions. That's an ensemble approach. Yeah, many things together at the same time. So you don't build an ensemble approach unless you know that no single indicator is reliable on its own. So the multiplicity of indicators is itself evidence that the ancients noticed that the Venus correlation is actually degrading. So they saw that also Yeah, it is not absolute, and that's also degrading, and it is changing. So, and they responded by hedging it, right? So, not so different from the modern ensemble approach. Modern also, just don't take one indicator and just, right? So, the fire yoga. In the year of wind diseases increase. Ghananam alpodakattancha. Clouds yield less water. So the Vedanga Jyotiṣa uses 5-year cycle as its basic calendar unit. We know this, right? Vedanga Jyotiṣa, 5 years. Yeah. So Parashara assigns rainfall characters to each year, ruled by the wind. Clouds yield less rain. Year 5, Anuvatsara, famine and disease. 1 in 5 is expected to be drought prone. Modern spectral analysis also finds a peak near 5 years. Yeah. So that's Parashara 2.4 for you. Yeah. Crazy, no? Yeah. So there are other cycles, 7 year, 18 year, 60 year. So 2 more cycles briefly. The Krishi Parashara gives a 7-year cycle. The best years recur at intervals of 2 and 5, again echoing the Venus rhythm. The 18-year Rahu Chakra is based on the lunar nodes, 18.6 years. And 5 times 12 is, hello? 5 times 6 is, 12 is? 60. So that's the basis of South Indian calendar. All of these periods show up as peaks in the spectral analysis, modern that we have, of Indian monsoon data. Right? 2 traditions, 1 monsoon. Let's bring it together. Both traditions do physics, correct? But they ask, by 2 traditions I mean Mahasalila and Parashara Tantra. Yeah, though one could be from the other also, in a way. But they ask different questions. The Mahasalilam asks, how do clouds form? Why does rain fall here and not there? It gives us the physics of cloud formation and precipitation. Whereas the Parashara Tantra asks, what determines whether this season will be wet or dry? It gives us the physics of seasonal behavior, correct? The 6-month precursor model. The wind direction affects and then goes further into measurement, forecasting and multi-year cycles. The Parashara Tantra is not just a forecasting manual. It's a physical theory of the monsoon season combined with empirical measurement, large program we saw, no? Measurement, how do we do the Adaka and all that. So together the 2 texts constitute a remarkably comprehensive pre-modern modern science, pre-modern monsoon science. Yeah, looks like that, right? So what they got right? Pretty much the big picture. The sun drives the system. We saw the gods, yeah, one driving the other. Southwest wind carries the rain. The rain falls at convergence zones. Pre-monsoon conditions, they are important, they matter. The variability is about 35 to 40% year to year. There are multi-year cycles, all checks, all confirmed. Yeah, all this works. Important. What remains a metaphor? There are so many portents told. This will happen to the king, this will happen to the people and all that. Okay? They are very noisy. We don't know. Okay, whether it works, doesn't work, yeah, it cannot be verified. Okay. So we saw Indra, Surya, Parjanya, Maruta, divine name labels, but they are labels for physical forces. which the Mahasalam explicitly acknowledges. The transmission. It starts with Vruddhagarga giving us the physics around 1800 BCE. Parashara builds the measurement system. Kautilya, he makes an institution out of it. Varahamihira compiles it. Utpala and Balladasena preserve it. In a sense, Hariharan closes the loop. Testing the numbers in 2004 and 9 and publishing the Mahasalilam itself in 2024 from 11 manuscripts scattered across the world. So 4,000 years and the numbers still hold. Yeah?
Can you just go one slide before? Yeah. The internal variability
Sir.
for whole of India is not that high. So for the number was probably the location they had. There is nothing.
Yes. So basically around central Indian region.
Take the All India Rainfall, internal variability is less actually. It's
Spread
over
across.
plus and minus. But the oscillation periods remain
The same.
more or less. And that, I think you have to add many more
Sure, sir.
checklists. Many texts on rainfall.
Right. So these are the sources that I consulted for now.
No, that's right.
Here.
Varahamihira,
Yeah.
then Utpala Balladasena.
Yeah.
Only that tradition you are mentioning, but there are others who also belong to this great tradition. For example, Meghamala, will not be fully edited. And Guru Samhita, it's a Sanskrit text, they also have to be some movements.
Yes. No. I just.
He just encouraged to do that.
He encouraged him to do it.
Very good.
I want to end with this line from VGJ. Not critically edited, but it is there in Vasalila book in the appendix. Vato bhutam bhavishyatcha
Varshavarshasya karakah esha dhata vidhāta cha prabhavo nidhanastatha. Wind is the cause of past and future rain and drought. Not Indra, not Parjanya, not even karma, but wind is everything. Yeah. Yeah. No, suddenly I felt I belong to the Madhva Parampara and Anjaneya is there. Yeah. Maruti. Yeah. Oh, Charumati is very happy. So this is a naturalistic statement. If you could fully understand the wind field, where it comes from, where it goes, where it stops, you could understand rainfall to a large extent. So that is the program of the modern monsoon meteorology, so to say. The ancients didn't have satellites or supercomputers, of course, but they had careful eyes, they had standardized vessels, the Ardhaka measure, Drona, of course the nakṣatra grid, which they were anyway extremely good. They tracked the sky, and centuries of accumulated observation. Remarkable, right? Characteristic of the parampara. Hundreds of years. Yeah. In fact, spanning millennia. So they identified the dominant frequencies of one of the most complex systems on Earth, so to say. So they measured its output quantitatively not just qualitatively. Yeah. And they encoded it in, say, physics, yeah, like how we saw in Kalidasa. Measurement, statistics, various cycles, the Venus cycle. So, in a tradition that we can still read, still test, and still learn from. Yeah. Thank you. The handout has key ideas. That's the last part of the handout that is given. In a simple manner it is given, whatever the discussion that we had just now. Okay. The ideas are in anyway simple language. The references are mentioned. Can you see the references? Yeah? Mahasalilam, this is what I have consulted. Okay? Mahasalilam, Parashara Tantra, rainfall variability, and monsoon rainfall cycles. Okay? So, who wrote these? RNI has edited it, all the 4. So, if you have questions, whom should you ask? Thank you.
Sir, this study, River Saraswati dried up, and during that time there was like continuous drought, and there were no rains. That was one of the reason why it dried up. That is what I have read. So, and during Mahabharata, when Balarama went for that Tirtha Yatra, he has mentioned how where he can see and where he cannot. So now with Parashara Tantra, can that be correlated, the rainfall, how it was during that time? And
It's a good question, but very difficult to answer. The reason is the following. Parashara Tantra, at least from the Adityachara, it belongs to 1500 BC, roughly you can say. These rainfall numbers which are there, which he showed also, which is available in Parashara Tantra, do they belong to the same period? Don't know. If you assume it is to the same period, so they measured once in 1500 BC. After that, no measurements were done in this country. These questions come up. But if you don't depend on this, your question can be addressed with the data which is available in Mahabharata. They are not quantitative, but qualitative data. And also in the other Puranas, Skanda Purana particularly. So Saraswati river dried up, that is very clearly mentioned. And forget about Balarama and all that. There is a Venus nakṣatra, and so there the Saraswati river went down and all that is there. So you can say that these are all realistic pictures of Saraswati river drying up, as in the Puranas, due to some natural disaster. And there is mention of drought in Mahabharata, that Vishwamitra and all the rishis went out looking for food, and Vishwamitra had to, in a Chandalasya Pakkane, he had to take that Shwana and so many things. And Dvadasha Varshiki Anavrishtihi Abhavat, he says, So it is all possible. That would have happened. That much you can say. What else do you want? Answer. If you are looking for a particular year, it's hard to get. It correlates roughly.
that correlation only I will.
Correlation is not quantitative. It is anecdotal correlation, connection between the things. There's a continuity. It's a believable, credible, plausible. That's what one can say.
like recent studies on Indus Valley civilizations, which has defined the decline of the civilization due to the shift of the wind to the eastwards. So that time also drought was happened, and apart from that, like with these studies, we can say that droughts are continuously happened. So can we count how many droughts were happened in?
How many?
Droughts were happened.
Droughts had happened, huh?
Yeah, in ancient times, so that we can at least eclipse was fixed by the numbers, so droughts can be fixed by the numbers, by this correlation with the text and the scientific studies.
It's a very interesting question in natural sciences and paleoclimatology. Now, paleoclimatologists have done some work on this to find out when droughts could have happened. That they do by taking samples, ground samples and all that. It is possible. As the modern science, many people are working along these lines. The paleoclimatology, paleoseismology, and paleo other science, even looking at pollen dust and ocean coast, rings, tree rings, and so many things. Oh, it's possible. I don't know how much work has been done in India with reference to Saraswati River. We know only recently the remote sensing work and those things are happening. Where tree ring work, whether it has been done, I don't know. But what I have been interested in doing is only this past textual thing. Our Sanskrit texts, Puranas and Vedas, what do they give is what I have been doing. In fact, I have written one publication on natural disasters, particularly in the northwestern region, including Rajasthan and these places, which relates with Saraswati to a large extent.
So this Parashara Tantra's author Parashara, or the school belongs to this Parashara and the Krishi Parashara's Parashara, they are the same? Can we tell them?
I don't know. This is $1 million question or something which can never be answered. And some people have to work further and see whether there are correspondences. Reason is this is in prose, that is in poetry. Still, information can be transferred either way, but it is not known. I have no idea. Krishi Parashara may be a later text based on this Himataurita. And this Parashara Tantra is only reconstructed. I myself not happy with somebody else's quotations. It is there. It is really not based on any original manuscript also. Don't know. But you people should work further on this. There's so much of information available even in the ancient texts. As I said, the Meghamala and the Guru Samhita and a few others. How that connects with this, there has been no study so far. That work has to be done. As you would have seen, there is a concept of measuring rainfall at least here as a quantitative thing. If you see some of the texts, even Guru Samhita and even in the Panchangas it is given, that so much of rainfall happens in a Deva Adhaka and all that, So how much falls in ocean, how much falls on the ground, how much falls on the hills. That ratio is there. That ratio even now people calculate. The modern thing also there is a concept of that. Because rainfall is because of the circulation and oceans are so important for that. So large amount of rainfall falls in ocean only. And then there is a cycle, and the cycle remains same. There is a conservation. Those concepts are there in the ancient time itself in the cycle. So there may be something more which will come out if we study further.
Guru Samhita. Guru Samhita is available to read.
Guru Samhita is
It is edited by Lallanji Gopal.
Guru Samhita is published in Kannada. Lallanji Gopal.
There are many more manuscripts related to the Vrishti Vigyan not published yet. more manuscripts are available there related to Vrishti Vigyan,
Vrishti Vigyan.
not published manuscripts.
Which text?
Related to unpublished, related to the Vrishti only.
No. Nobody knows these things.
Okay.
You know only from the catalog a few things. I know only what I have collected. Meghamala I have collected. So that manuscript is there from Pune. That Meghamala may be available even in Kashi and other places. I have no idea, you know. It may be, you know. Oh, it's available? Okay.
Meghamala is published.
No. And similarly, there may be other rainfall related texts also, you know. Unless somebody does this work, you will never know.
Yeah,
So you have to search the manuscripts. Because the manuscript libraries, they simply put us some name, which subject. They will put everything in Jyotiṣa or everything in some Dharmashastra or something, you know. You never know that. That difficulty is there.
No, but how do you know that this is related to the Vrishti Vigyan?
Don't say anything on that. It's all horrible. They have no scientific cataloging, you know, and the titling and all that. They're a very ancient thing.
Published.
Even if you see the manuscripts which are available with us, they top something else is written. So with that you can't go. You have to see at least 1 or 2 leaves. Then you get an idea, not otherwise.
It's a very long work they did. It's a very long work that they did. Kerala work.
No, they have done, I know, and they are reprinting and all that. Somebody gives the money, they reprint, that's all, you know. But now I think there is increased interest in manuscripts. So let us hope something new comes out. So far I have not seen anything new on rainfall, at least in the published material, like the Gangotri and MIDF or Jnana Bharatam or anybody else. I have not seen. The same names get circulated, the 4 names I said. I want to see something new. There is one called, you might have seen, Kashyapiya Krishi Sukti. Yes. But that was published in Hungary first, you know. Yeah, first Hungary. And that has some information on rainfall. Not really this kind of thing, but commercial, trade, and food, commerce. Connected with agriculture, there is a little bit.
Sir, you told 3 literatures. One is Meghamala, second one is Guru Samhita, third one you told something
Which one?
Third one more you told something Vrishti.
Meghamala and Guru Samhita.
And one more.
Kashyapiya Krishi Sukti.
Apart from this, one more you.
Which did I mention?
Third one came just now.
It was a cycle, maybe it came back to the same thing. You know?
There was one more.
But you see.
Something Vrishti, yeah.
Huh?
Something Vrishti you told. Vrishti Vigyanam.
Vrishti Vigyan, there is a Hindi book. There is Hindi, there are 2 or 3. There is one called Kadambini. I think you listed them in your write-up? In Madila, okay. So in Hindi there are 2 or 3. There is one by Muralidhar Sharma or so. Same as the Muralidhar Jha who brought out Adbhuta Sagara. So there's something. But you know, Adbhuta Sagara itself has an rainfall. That you have to see. They are the Utpatas, are the anomalies. All anomalies are collected in Adbhuta Sagara. That has not been fully studied, you know. And there is no critical edition for Adbhuta Sagara, other than what Muralidhar Jha has given. I looked at only for the point of view of Parashara and comets. But there is so much of Adbhuta Vartas in that. All that somebody will have to see whether it has any use. For IKS people, it's very important, you know. You have something more to present? But that 18-year cycle which he showed, that will have interesting things to us. Whether it's the metonic cycle or the eclipse cycle. So all natural phenomena, that means
Opening only is that only, sir.
You take any paleoseismic signature, paleoclimatic signature, or you take even safety. It has been long time and large scale. Anywhere in the
Format.
they have this signature. That is simply the tidal cycle. Because between sun and moon, that 18 to 19 year correlation, it is generally called the tidal cycle. So that will always be present. And that had been recognized already 2000 years back. So Rahu is very important in rainfall forecasting, maybe as a kind of a correlation, maybe cause or whatever. You need not worry about it. So depending on Rahu, some forecasting or rainfall, you today some of the Panchangas it is given. That has to be studied further. And you can see that in the among the Jyotiṣa, the pṛhatī. The pṛhatī is the Pāṇu Panchangam. So the Pāṇu Panchangam, which is the snake which is here, like that is shown as the figure in some of the South Indian Tamil Nadu Panchangams. They make a prediction based on the position of Rahu and the nakṣatras. And what is the background behind it? It has not been studied. But it corresponds with the 18-year cycle. So they make a prediction on whether when the seeds have to be sown, that is bṛhatī. And bṛhatī has to be connected with rainfall. So he goes and asks when I should do the rainfall. They will keep that chakra and place Rahus in the tip, in the tie line, and then make some, there are some rules which are given. So which nakṣatra comes after that, and in that nakṣatra you do the sowing, you will have good rainfall and you will come up very fast. That is what they predict. So it has some practical meaning, no doubt about it. Hariharan chakra is different. Pṛhatī chakra is different. Pṛhatī chakra I can show you tomorrow. The Pāṇu Panchangam will build it and show it here. Or Hariharan, can you look for that Pāṇu Panchangam? It's different. And there are several such chakras, and I think they have meanings. Maybe ordinary relationship may not have high predictability, because predicting rainfall even today is not possible. No, let us forget it. You can make some kind of prognostication, or approximately this may happen, that may happen, that's all. Even then it was the same thing.
So, one point. In Nepal, the Nepal festivals, Machindranath Jatra was to celebrate end of 12 years drought.
Oh, okay.
And so Indra Jatra for them.
Okay.
So Machindranath Jatra. So in tribal memory, even Parva.
Could be. In fact, this 12-year drought memory is there among all people in India, in all clans. Among the Jains, the Bahubali came out of Bihar to Shravanabelagula and Karnataka after a 12-year drought. And the Ashwamedha Putrakameshti or something was done in Ayodhya. Rishishringa was brought because there was a 12-year drought. So this 12 and Dwadasha Varshiki thing in Mahabharata, it comes in so many places. It would have been a severe drought. Whether it is 12 years, we don't know, but it would have been a very long rainfall failure. That is correlated with Saraswati river thing and collapse of the Harappan civilization, possible. In fact, many people think it is correlated with the rainfall failure, but the scientific opinion is varied. Some people would say the monsoon thing changed. Now, some people would say no, the soil conditions also changed. And if you see the Sanskrit text, Rigveda and these things, Puranic text, it was celestial because something fell down and it was maybe cometary impact or maybe change in the course. There's the geological changes, earthquakes. But all this was caused for what? Everything is connected with everything else. So Indra caused the disaster, Kāla, because Indra hit the mountain and the mountain sank in the second mandala, you know. And Valdiya and others, the geologists with whom I have been discussing quite a bit, unfortunately he is no more, he says the Aravali bent, and that is when the things changed, you know. Yamuna flowing west turned east. That bend can be seen even today. So this Arbuda was the mountain which was hit by Indra.
Yeah, one peak fell down.
That is what it comes. He pressed it and it went down is what the second mandala. This is the Pambu Panchangam, you know. It's not the Ahibala Chakra.
This is Panichakra.
Panichakra. So this Panichakra you can see at the tip, there are those circles are nakṣatras. Some nakṣatras are in the center, some are on the snake's belly, some are on the third one. So there is a full body which is there like this, you know. So not all the 27 nakshatras are horizontally placed. Don't think like that. You have to see it closely. There are other circles. And on the corner there is a concentration. Some 5 or 6 are concentrated. And Rahu is kept on the last tip. And then, you know, they decide something. Which nakshatra it has to be. That depends on the current Rahu position. When the question is asked, they have to know. In that season, in that year, that is the node, where the node is there. That is moons, ascending node and descending node, where they are. So depending on that, maybe in the next 15 days in the season. So you have to look at these things from a conditional angle, you get some answer. That is, statistics is fine, but conditional probability you have to say. Given that it is the rainy season. If you see in the winter season and ask whether tomorrow there will be rainfall, it is a wrong question. Nobody would do that. But you are expecting rain and you want to know whether it comes or not, is a better situation. That is what is normally done. So this is meant for farmers actually. Farmers are supposed to go and ask, when should I do the sowing? That is in the season. So he would have a window of about 15 to 20 days or whatever. And in that time it is done. But this, if you do in a long time, it shows a 18-year cycle. Because the Rahu is always the 18-year cycle comes up, you know.
So this global warming and all will not affect if these are fixed for like 18 years and global warming happens?
No. Global warming is a different phenomenon, whereas this nodal cycle is because of the rotation of the earth and moon, you know, the sun and moon. Warming is due to temperature and other things. There will be cycles in temperature also. There may be the results, not the causes. And the global warming will be happening due to hundreds of other reasons, carbon accumulation, sunlight not coming in.
That would affect the rainfall.
That will affect the rainfall, but the cycle won't be affected, these cycles. That is why these are not the reasons, these are all prognostications, you know. They are not the cause-effect relationship. Cause-effect relationship, who knows? Nobody knows cause-effect relationship. Most of the scientific things are only correlational, you know. That means you have two variables, you draw and see that the two are connected somehow, you draw a graph. From one you try to tell the other. And the only correlation which you can get is with time. Whatever is the previous reason is only time. Because these are all connected in time series, you know. I get into other issues, I will not take you through that. It's predicting a Gaussian process and so many things which comes in. Yeah, this is what I wanted to. And you can see the farmer there. He is the person who asks questions.
It is also only to Ra
Some illustrations are needed on this. Somebody will tell you.
Sir, I just wanted to ask one question. Is there any study that the day length is varying? The length of the day.
Day length is varying.
But across the yugas, have any study is done?
Across the yugas? No, I don't think anybody has done that across the yugas.
What is the text I should look for?
What is the?
Text I should look for. Across the yugas, the day length variation, if I have to give a study on that.
You want to do that? Oh, I have to study a lot of physics, celestial mechanics for that. Because as the speed of rotation of Earth changes.
For every yuga?
No, long period it is changing. We know that days are becoming longer or whatever nowadays. Because the speed of Earth is decreasing, you know. Whereas the speed of Earth was more than this long time back. In other words, with reference to today's 24-hour day, previously it was not, it might have been only a few minutes less. So it would rotate faster, number of cycles that you have to talk to somebody in physics or in space physics also. There are no textbooks on that, at least in Sanskritam I cannot say. But in IIT Chennai would be having a lot of library things on remote sensing and all these things. The reason is the eclipse's visibility depends on this, you know, on the speed of Earth and on the angle of obliquity. Now, obliquity has changed, it is known, they have measured it.
But it is
about how much and how do we do it with reference to our Samskrita books, it is not possible. I don't know. I have not studied it. You know. You want, you should do that. But Vahya did some work. Along with Subbarayappa, they collected all eclipse information in the inscriptions. Because the largest number of inscriptions are in India. Forget about manuscripts. Inscriptions are largest in India. Vahya is the person who did. M.N. Vahya, who was at TAFR, he wanted to study the change in the speed of Earth with reference to eclipses, which are mentioned in the inscriptions. They got some information on. They have published also on that. These are important. See, the numbers which physicists say, they can only be with reference to eclipse, you can fix it. But how do you know the date of the eclipse? They have taken data from Chinese and Babylonians of the eclipses and the comets because there is a date available with them. You can correlate a date, whereas in us we did not have an era and a date.
But it is not possible to select one. There was one epic for every yuga like Ramayana.
No. That doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Because what is yuga? Is the Krita Yuga, this Treta Yuga is the yuga? Or the Panchavarshi Yuga is the yuga? You can't do that. No, don't have any such theory. If you want to do scientific work, you can't. You have to read and understand for yourself. But there are eclipses and celestial statements which are mentioned in many of the Puranas. Forget about Ramayana, Mahabharata, other Puranas. You try to analyze them, you'll get something. I told you about Skanda Purana.
Yes,
so Skanda Purana, you see, what is the basis for the vratas which are done? There are so many vrata which are done, you know, including the Chat Puja and all that. And there is also the, there is something in which in North India they do, you know, they hold a sieve and sea moon. What is that called? Karwa Chauth. Yeah, those things, you see what may be the background of that. Now the names given are like Tithi names, but they may be connected with something solar. Chat is definitely Kartikeya. You know. Kartikeya is falling on the Shashti is the one which is observed. Not only there, all over India, including Tamil Nadu, you know. It is the same thing, called by different names. That is a fertile area of study if you want to do that kind of work. Do that. Good.